Okay, welcome to the Alexa Flash Briefing course. This is how to create an Alexa flash briefing with both voice and with text. Now, for those who, I should just point out first, if you do have an Amazon Echo, just make sure that you hit the microphone off button, which is obviously on the top of it, to disable. We'll be talking about Alexa and mentioning her name plenty of times. So if you do have a device around you in your office, in your home, wherever you're watching this, then just make sure that it's turned off. Otherwise, she'll be going crazy at you. So really, the premise of this course is Amazon are an incredible company. I'm a massive fan of Jeff Bezos and where he's taking the company. Voice first is a real emerging user experience. It's gaining so much traction. It's really it's the way that we communicate. We communicate by voice, and having that interaction and having your personal brand, your company, even your story on an Amazon Alexa device through the skill store, in essence having a flash briefing, is a perfect way to reach millions and millions of people. If you take a look at the amount of Amazon devices, Amazon Echo devices, or even Alexa enabled devices that are emerging, it's huge. The amount of Amazon Echoes that are in homes at the moment is incredible. I myself have 3. One in my bedroom, one downstairs in the kitchen, and one in the living room. The amount of things you can do with an Echo is incredible. So it's a fantastic way. If you haven't made a flash briefing yet, otherwise you wouldn't be taking this course. But the real premise behind it is you can get in front of so many people to tell your story, express your brand, tell news, headlines, weather, anything about your story, your company, your brand, in front of millions of people. And I must add that the skill store at present, at the moment, is like the App Store was back in 2010. There is so much opportunity, and if you don't take it now, it'll be even more harder to stand out in the landscape. So that's the premise behind it, and we're going to take you through how to build a flash briefing from A to Z, all the way through. So let's jump in. So I think I should just add, obviously, welcome to this course. My name is Tom Wickstead. I'm the host of Stories in Business podcast, where I talk to entrepreneurs, businessmen and women, to get their story in business so far and where they've come from. And I had an incredible amount of people asking me how to build a flash briefing, specifically because I had, and still do, a Alexa flash briefing for the podcast. And hence why I'm building this course is to explain, how to go about this. You don't need any coding experience at all. You can go down that route if you want to, and I will show you how to go down that route, but you really don't need that much experience at all. And like I said earlier, the skill store is pretty much open for grabs. It's a fantastic land grab opportunity. I'm fascinated by Amazon Alexa, Echo devices, and really voice first, and that's where that podcast came about. I don't want to talk too much about the podcast, but that's really where that interest came about. Specifically with voice first, it saves you so much time. You can ask, when you wake up in the morning, Alexa, good morning, and she'll tell you an interesting fact. If you have a car garage, let's say, for example, you can say, Alexa, give me some car tips. You could create a daily flash briefing or a weekly flash briefing, so that when anyone enables your skill, in the store, and they say, Alexa, give me some car tips, for argument's sake. I'm making this up here, but you you can reel off some car tips with maybe a link to your website or whatever it might be. That's just an example, but that's how much scope it's got. So I really hope you get some value out of this course. If you do have any questions, then just shoot me an email, tom@storiesinbusiness.com. More than happy to help. More than happy to answer any queries you've got. So feel free to don't bombard me, but if you do have any questions, then just ping over an email. So we've already talked about Alexa somewhat. Obviously, these are some of the devices here. Amazon are constantly bringing out new devices. For example, we've got the Echo show on the right there, which has a screen. So if you ask Alexa, "What's the weather?" then obviously she'll tell you by voice, and she'll also show some nice graphics on there as well. Obviously, the Echo Dot there on the left, the smaller device, which I actually have in my kitchen and living room. I've got the Echo in the middle there in my bedroom. So Alexa, what is Alexa? Well, Alexa is Amazon's virtual assistant. So it's exactly like Siri is on iPhones. She's built in. Alexa is built into the devices, Amazon's devices, known as Echoes, and obviously there was some examples there prior to what Echoes look like. And again, Amazon are coming out with constantly updated versions of them. They are penetrating the market with them at incredible rates. Generally, you can change the wake word. So the wake word is Alexa, and when you say Alexa, the Echo devices have a number of microphones built in that will respond, and she will then start listening to what you have to ask her. So here is an example of mine, which I'm just going to show you now. Alexa, what's the weather in London?
Currently, in London it's 10 degrees Celsius with cloudy skies. Today, you can expect thunderstorms, with a high of 11 degrees and a low of 7 degrees.
Sorry, guys, that is not mine. That is just an example of what you can ask Alexa to tell you. So in that case, it was Alexa, what's the weather in London? And she read out what the weather is in London. So that just gives you an example. If I'm sure the majority of people already know how to go about this and what it is, but for the purposes of this and context, it's good to give you an idea of what she can do. So what is a flash briefing? Well, you can create daily, hourly, weekly flash briefings from various sources. It's important that a flash briefing is what it says in the title. It's flash briefing, so it's short snippets. I generally keep mine less than a minute because, well, twofold really. Majority of people have a short attention span, so a lot of people just want some information quickly. Secondly, it's incredibly easy to get rid of your flash briefing. So all that people have to do is click disable skill, and then you're no longer on their flash briefing. So it's important to keep things short and snappy. But here is an example of mine for the podcast Stories in Business, and this hopefully should give you some context. Alexa, what's my flash briefing?
Here's your flash briefing. In Books to Read by Stories in Business podcast.
Hey Alexa users, this is Tom Wickstead from Stories in Business podcast. This week, the book... So basically, that was an example of mine. So I have a flash briefing called Books to Read by Stories in Business, and that basically entails me giving a short form, less than 1 minute flash briefing on the books that I'm reading this week. So in my case, this is a weekly flash briefing. I can make it daily if I wanted to. I mean, you could even go to the extent of hourly, but clearly I can't read that many books in an hour. So hence why I've kept it weekly. So the key word for that is Alexa, what's my flash briefing? And then she read off my flash briefing, which is in Books to Read by Stories in Business podcast, and then I jumped in. You'll notice in there as well that I said, "Hey Alexa users, this is Tom Wickstead from Stories in Business podcast." One of the reasons I think it's important is to keep the content unique that you're going to have on your flash briefing. So the reason I use that "Hey Alexa" is so that Alexa users know this is specifically for them. This content is for them and them only, and it just gives that little bit of uniqueness there. You also notice that I said "Hey Alexa" and she didn't actually light up, which I believe Amazon have been sort of trying to fix, specifically, for example, on adverts when they're advertising Alexa devices and the actors or whoever are going, "Hey Alexa, what's my news?" then she won't specifically listen to it. So that's an interesting point. So why have a flash briefing? Well, Alexa is the next big thing. So many manufacturers are introducing Alexa-enabled devices into their devices. So that's, for example, fridges. So people can go, "Alexa, what's in my fridge?" or "Alexa, what recipes can I make? What meals can I make from the food that's in my fridge?" And then she'll reel it out. I know Ford are introducing Alexa into their cars. When this will be, I've no idea, but it truly is the next big thing. Businesses as well. Amazon Business, I know, are trying to get, well, certainly developing, and if not already, by the time you've watched this, it's already out, but they are trying to get Alexa into businesses. So, for example, you could have an Alexa device in a meeting room. So when people walk into the meeting, people can go, "Alexa, start my meeting," and then maybe the blinds will come down, the lights will dim, a PowerPoint presentation will come up. So it really is fascinating. Clearly, the amount of Echo devices in homes is growing at a crazy rate. They will be in every home. They will be in every business. So it's really important that now is the right time to create a flash briefing. Again, I mentioned obviously the soon-to-be in vehicles. I know Ford are trialing it, and if not, it's already out by the time you've watched this. As I'm speaking to you now in March 2018, it's super easy to compete. There's very few skills. There may be, I think, around 20,000 skills, which seems a lot, but it's extremely easy to rank for certain keywords within the skills store for your niche or for whatever sort of flash briefing you've got. Like I mentioned before, it helps your business or hobby get found in front of millions of users. And of course, they are super easy to create. So where do people find your flash briefing? So let me just give you an example. Obviously, here is the Amazon Alexa app that is downloaded when you buy an Amazon Echo. So users click, obviously, Amazon Alexa. They go down there, they click skills. And this is the skills store, so there's loads of different skills on there at the moment. If I just type in business, there's mine, Stories in Business, some other news, business news. Let's see what else. Daily hacks, life hacks. That's specifically a skill, but there is 25 results currently for hacks. So if you have a an idea that you want to create a flash briefing of maybe daily or weekly hacks, life hacks, then again, fantastic way to do that. So that is the skills store, and that's where people find your flash briefing. Obviously, you can find the skill store on both mobile and desktop, or users can actually access it via their Echo device. So I've talked a lot about flash briefings, but it's important to differentiate between what a skill is and a flash briefing. So, little typo there, Alexa, that's meant to say, Alexa skill. So custom skills such as games, airlines, for example, might have a custom skill. So users might ask Alexa, when's my flight? And then she'll reel out when the flight is. Obviously, that requires significant coding and delving a little bit deeper into the back end. But for the purposes of this, we'll be creating flash briefings. And a flash briefing is the user asks their device, Alexa, what's my flash briefing? Alexa, give me my flash briefing. And then she will read out that flash briefing from yourself. So ideas for your flash briefing. So we've mentioned it before, but if you have a car garage, let's say, you could do daily tips on looking after your car. News from your industry, so that could be anything. So from selling a house, you could do daily tips on selling a house. You could do interesting news about antiques that week. And don't forget, this can be hourly, daily, or weekly. So depending on how much, first of all, time you've got, and secondly, how much in depth you want to go, you could keep it weekly, which I do. You could even go daily, or if you really have the ambition, hourly. It just depends what sort of industry you're in. Beauty tips for looking after your hair. You know, if you own a beauty salon, a hairdressing salon, the users could enable your flash briefing. Let's say it's called daily hair tips or something like that. So whenever someone says, a user says, Alexa, what's my flash briefing? You can then reel off some tips about a daily tip about looking after your hair or whatever it might be. These are just pure examples, but I think it's important to give people an idea of the scope that really you can go to. For example, if you're a financial advisor, you could do a 1-minute audio tip from your industry. So that might be news, might be tips, anything like that. Or if, fun facts of the day or the week. And as I've mentioned, they are a short report, a short flash briefing, a short snippet of audio or text, giving users a quick information, key bits of information that they can then take away and use. I mean, we've talked about it, but now is the time to create your skill before everyone starts flocking there. Brands are starting to move into it. I mentioned airlines. You'll soon see more household names, household brand names in there. You'll see big multinationals. You'll see banks, and it will soon become crowded. So you will have to work harder. There is extremely little cost outlay, if any, to create a flash briefing, and it's super duper easy to do. Okay, that's the welcome sort of introduction complete. It would be fantastic if you could join me and continue with the course, and we will go ahead and create our flash briefing.